This thing on? We live? What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Chemo, and I'm back with another video, and you back to watch it, so smash the like button. Matter of fact, break that bitch.
Say, smash that like button. Matter of fact, break that bitch.
What's good, YouTube? Now, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, you already know what this story about. I was exactly 23 years old when this situation happened. It happened July 10, 2014. I'll never forget. I woke up and I just had this strange feeling in the air for some reason. I don't know where it come from, but I remember the scripture in the Bible. It said, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I remember I cited that scripture. Then I walked out the door headed to work. Now, on my way to work, for some reason, I stopped in a church, Abundant Life Tabernacle, my church on Franklin Avenue. Now, I stopped in this church, hollered at Bishop, which is Ryan Warner. I walked out the church and headed to work on Bourbon Street. I was working at Catch Me Out Karaoke at the time. Now, I went to work. Now, at this time, I was working like 11, 12 hours a day at this time on Bourbon Street. Because if anybody know about Bourbon Street, it's always packed because there's always stuff going on. That's just like the main tourist attraction spot when people come down here, Bourbon. So I'm working on Bourbon. I'm working at Catch Me Out. I'm doing cleaning at this time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like a houseman. So I'm cleaning tables. I'm busting tables, sweeping floors. I'm going to get drinks for people if they needed drinks and whatsoever. Get out of work about 3 o'clock, 3:30, right? So I walked down Bourbon Street. Now at this point in time, I didn't have a vehicle, so I'm walking home. I'm on foot. Buses wasn't even running at this time of night. That's how I end up walking home. So I'm walking home, right? And I get to Decatur and Allegiant Fields. I get to Decatur and Allegiant Fields. Now I walk across Allegiant Fields. Now I'm into the Marinette on Decatur Street. I spot a white SUV, right? Now, me and the passenger, we got eye contact. But if anybody know about, if you from New Orleans, y'all know how people is with that. They'll stare you down. They try and make you turn your head. I guess they call it intimidation or some shit like that. But I ain't never been scared of no shit like that. So we got eye contact. So they driving past. Now, I ain't think nothing of it, all right? I walk down Decatur Street. I end up on Franklin Avenue, which is the street I live on. It's going to turn into Avenastor. So I make that left on Franklin Avenue. Now I walk down to Franklin and Burgundy, right? So I'm standing in the middle of the street. Next thing you know, I see high beams. Like, I can't see nothing. You see what I'm saying? That's all I see is high beams, like high lights in my face. So after that, the truck come creeping up slow. I'm not thinking of it nothing, so I look at it. Once I realized what's going on, it was kind of like too late for me to really check out, which means run. It was too late for me to run. So I seen a dude run in the street. He running towards me. He pull a shotgun out his pants leg. Then they got another dude. He hop out the car. He got a revolver, and another dude hop out the car. He got a pistol. If you think I'm lying, you can Google this shit. All you have to do is Google Hakeem Carter is missing, and it's gonna pop up. So after that, the dude with the shotgun, he grabbed me, he snatched me out the street, he bring me to by the other dudes. Now we on the corner of Franklin and Burgundy. There's a church, it's like a church/school on the corner. We at the stop sign on the opposite corner. So they go to asking me where I'm from, where I'm coming from. I have kids, all kind of strange shit. Believe it or not, like they asked me if I had kids, where I was coming from. Am I familiar with the area? Do I live around there? Do I know people with this, that, and the third? So the dude with the shotgun was like, what you got? You hear me? I told him straight up, I ain't had nothing for you. Which I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had nothing for you. You heard me? If I did have something, I probably still would have said I ain't had nothing for you. That's just the type of nigga I am. I ain't got nothing for you. You heard me? So he said, you ain't got nothing? I said, no. Next thing I know, it go blank. I woke up, I got a shotgun blast to the stomach. So the first shot that was let off was to the stomach, point blank range. It blasted me to the stop sign. I had 55 staples in my stomach. You see what I'm saying? So I wake up, I'm laying on the ground, I'm bleeding. I had a Saints book sack on. Which was black and gold. I had an orange polo. I had some black Dickies, and I had some white fire red Jordans that my ex-girlfriend had just bought me for Valentine's Day. I'm laying on the ground. Next thing you know, I hear I feel a hard pressure. I feel like a large amount of pressure hit my waist, hit me dead in the hip. Now, I'm just thinking this from me hitting the ground, but when I look up, this nigga still shooting this fucking shotgun. You see what I'm saying? Like, I have a hole in my fucking hip this big from that shit. And I'm constantly reminded about it every day when I look in the shower and I look at this fucking scar on my hip that's this big from this ignorant ass nigga shooting a fucking shotgun into my leg. Right? Now, once I look up, he has it aimed to my face. I throw my arm up. That's how I get caught in the elbow. I got a hole in my elbow right here. I got caught in the elbow and I got shot in the wrist. Now, after I got hit in the wrist, I knew this arm had went dead because it just dropped. That's all it did. It just dropped out of air after that. He's still shooting this gun. I got hit in my stomach. I got hit in my side, hit in my shoulder. I got hit in my wrist and my forearm. And when I looked up, the next thing I knew, he had it in my face, and that was the last shot. When he let the shot off, that's when my face exploded. All my lips was disfigured. My eye was blasted shut. I had pellets all in my face. And I still have pellets in my face. I still have pellets in my shoulder. I still have pellets in my hip. And they just hopped in the car and pulled off, left me for dead. And I'm sitting there wondering, like, why the fuck is this shit happening to me at the time? Like, sitting there on the ground bleeding, and all I can think of is praying. So that's all I grew up on. Like, I grew up in a church, Pear Life. It was uptown. I grew up in Pear Life Missionary Baptist Church as a child. I used to go there with my grandmother all the time. So all I knew to do was pray. So I started praying, and I talked to God just like I was talking to everybody else. And I asked him, and I told him, I was like, if you was a real person, or if you ever existed, you wouldn't even let me go out like this. Simple as like that. Like, you wouldn't even let me go out like this, because at that point in time, I was at a point in my life, like, I was at my lowest, and I was really starting to get it together. Like, I was really starting to find a way. So I was like, for me to just start beginning to get it together, and for something like that to happen, like, you couldn't let me go out like that. Then after that, like, believe it or not, probably like 5 or 10 minutes later, a man showed up, and he's asking me these questions and I can't answer because I've been shot up so many times and it took so much impact. So he ended up calling 911 and come to find out he's a doctor, and he was walking with his wife and his child. He just ended up seeing me laying on the ground. But all I can remember hearing is him telling him to get his kid in the house and to bring him towels. Nah, I thought I had lost my eye, because when he was on the phone with the ambulance, he was saying like it looked like he'd been shot in the eye, but my eye was just blasted shut. And like, he's operating and he's trying to do what he can. He cut my clothes off in the middle of the street, and he looked at me and he was like, just hold on. But at that point, I told him I was already a dead man. Because I just didn't believe or see me just like surviving something like that. Like, at that point in time, I didn't know if like God was real or not. You see what I'm saying? But when the doctor came, like, that's probably when I knew. That's when I found out, like, he may not be there when you call him, but he always was on time. That's the saying I wanted to say. He might not be there when you need him, but he always on time. And he couldn't have came at a better time for me. So worked on me. Next thing you know, the ambulance came, and a stupid ass detective, he was asking me my name and did I have proof. I'm like, how I'm gonna have proof of that if somebody, you know, robbed me? So eventually I became unresponsible after that. I got pushed me in the ambulance. I was on a stretcher. I looked up. All I could see was like a bright light. So like, I was going out. Like, I knew I was going in and out. On my medical record, they say I was in cardiac arrest. So eventually I passed in the ambulance, but I was resuscitated. I was brought back to life and everything. We made it to the hospital, and the doctor started operating on me. And you know, that's basically how I made it to the hospital. I was in there for about 2 weeks. I ain't have no identification, so I was missing for 3 days. I was on the news missing for 3 days. I was a John Doe, and I was a John Doe in the hospital. So even when my mama came, they told her I wasn't there because they didn't know my name. So she saying my name, but they didn't know it because they had me under some Asian name. I was like under some Asian name, like 102 years old on my wristband. When you go missing, like they call you John Doe because that's just the name that they use for missing people. But your name be like some random name, some made up name with an age. Like you might be 200 years old in the hospital if you come up missing and they find you. You see what I'm saying? So that's what all that was about. But eventually my family found me. And because like when I got out of surgery, I was only able to use my left hand. I was only able to use my left hand when I got out surgery. So when I got out surgery, so they was asking me, do I know a number? I was even speaking. So like I told them I needed some paper. I told them give me a piece of paper and a pen. I was only able to write with this arm because this was the only arm that didn't take impact. So I wrote my friend Trayvon number down. I never forget his number. His number was 25504 251. I think it was 2030 or something like that. And it was the only number I can get with one hand. So I was signaling to the doctor with my hand, the numbers, and they end up calling my friend. Next thing I know, my whole family was in the room. And that's when they found me. And things started getting better. But that really made me like who I am today, believe it or not. Because that's probably what's the only situation. They always say you never know how strong you are until you really, you never know how strong you are until that's the only decision that you have. And that was the day I found out how strong I was. That's a story about how I ended up getting shot 6 times. I took six rounds of bird shots from a shotgun. I took 6 rounds of, I still have some in my shoulder. I have 6 in my face. I still have some in my hip. When they get caught, I deal with, different pain and stuff, but it ain't nothing I can't deal with. I've been dealing with it for, might be 8 years now, so I'm used to it now. But that's the end of the story of how I got shot. You know what I'm saying? If you enjoyed this story time, make sure to click the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button. I love y'all. Thank y'all for supporting me. And I'll see y'all next video.